everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Anna and this is On a Budget. Today we are going to go over how we managed to pay off $68,000 of debt in 3.5 years. So today's video is going to be basically 5 parts that I'd like to go over. So the first one is going to be kind of a history of how I personally got into debt. And then we'll go over some key steps that I think are important and necessary for you to start your debt-free journey. And then third, we'll go over certain things we did in order to pay off our debt. And then fourth, we're going to talk a little bit about motivation. And then in the fifth and last part, I will insert a clip into basically our Excel document I created to track our debt-free journey of paying off the $68,000. So let's get started first with a little bit of how I got into debt. So my husband actually did not bring any debt into the marriage. I had credit card debt, student loan debt, and then after we were married and when we had our son, we had some medical debt. But back in December of 2019, when I first started our journey with our finances, I was taking track at that point in time. But for me, the credit card debt happened long before that. So when I turned 18, I decided I wanted to move out of my parents' house and basically couldn't afford it. So I would pretty much charge everything to credit cards. If I had any finance classes in high school, I do not remember them because I don't remember anything about finances. So I eventually moved back home because I couldn't afford that apartment, and I decided to go back to school. So I did go and get my bachelor's degree. I took out loans to pay for my tuition, my board, but then I also had to cover those bills that I brought into when I was in college. So I was taking out like exceedingly more to pay for my bills I had at that time, which was probably a car loan and credit card debt. So after I graduated, I got a decent paying job, but I still hadn't learned anything about how to budget my finances. So I received a pay cut at that job, and it resulted again in me living off credit cards. So then I decided to look for another job elsewhere, and I interviewed with what I consider my first big girl job. I had no real experience in my field, and I felt like I was underqualified, but God did it. God blessed me with the position, and I didn't realize this at the time, but I have to give him credit for basically all our finances and how we were able to do this. A few months later, after I received that job, our pastor preached on tithing our first fruits, and I had a pull in my heart that I needed to start tithing. So if you're a Christian and you're not tithing, I highly encourage you to, because I just want to put this bluntly, but with as much love as I can. If you're not tithing, you're robbing God of the opportunity to bless you, because I have to, again, give him credit for our finances, because without him, we would not have been able to do this. So I feel as if he has multiplied and stretched our finances more than we could ever explain. So looking back at our budget, at that time, so this was back in 2019, my husband and I both had old cars, so we did not have car loans. We had old, beat up, paid off cars. We also did not pay for childcare. So my son was born in the beginning of 2019. And after I went back to work after maternity leave, he became a stay-at-home dad. So we were a one-income household, but we still made a decent income. So I just want to, preference this video by saying I did make decent income as one person. And we did receive like stimulus checks during this time, and I did receive a few bonuses, which were abnormal. It's not like an annual bonus I'll receive every year, but during this time I did save any kind of bonus or stimulus checks or tax refunds that we had. But I just want to preference this video by saying that, but I don't also want to discredit all the hard work and sacrifices that we put into this journey, because your debt-free journey is going to be hard, and at times you're going to want to quit, but if you can find motivation and determination, it is going to be so worth it in the end, because once you pay off one debt, you just feel that happiness, and knowing you can accomplish that, then you're golden. You just have to keep pressing on and continuing to go. So with that said, let's get started on a few key steps that I think you need to do first in order to pay off your debt. So number one would be find your why. So it isn't so important for you to know why you want to get out of debt, so that anytime when you want to quit, you can go back to your why to reiterate why this is so important to you. So for me, back in December of 2019, I had a sick and tired of being broke moment, where I realized that I did not want to live paycheck to paycheck anymore. I did not want to not be able to provide like diapers or clothing for my son. And I was just sick of owing people my hard-earned money. Like, I felt like it was our money, and that we should be able to spend it how we would like. And if that was to save, then that was to save. If it was to spend, it was to spend. But the fact that I was paying for my past mistakes was just enough for me to realize that we needed to change. So number one is find your why. Next, you do your debt picture just like this one. So this was the starting balance of once we started tracking, and this just gives you an idea of where you're started, and you can prioritize what goals and which debt you want to pay off first. So that way you have a fresh starting point, and you can look back on over the time that you take to pay off your debts. You can look back to how far you've come after you've started paying off that debt. So step 3 would be to create a budget. So to set yourself up for success, I would suggest that you track your spending for at least 2 to 3 months to get a realistic picture of where your money is actually going. So tracking your expenses can be an eye-opener for you, because you may realize you have more money than you thought you did. It's just that because you're not giving your money a priority, it can easily be spent on shopping or dining out or self-care, and it's not necessarily going to what you would like to prioritize it to go to. So it can also bring room for improvement. So by creating yourself a budget, you can reel in all of that miscellaneous spending and prioritize it to debt or to savings or whatever your priorities are. So next would be to create a plan of attack. So there are 2 methods that most people are pretty familiar with. That is the debt snowball method and the debt avalanche method. So you would kind of want to ask yourself, which you would feel more accomplished with. Would you rather pay off your smallest debts first and build this momentum of them going away faster, or would you rather save more money in the long run by tackling your highest interest rates first? For us, we kind of did a mixture of both. So I started by paying off like the smallest debts first, but then getting closer to SoFi, this was a larger amount. So like the OB was smaller and Baylor was smaller, but I was so irritated by that $700 a month that we're paying off credit cards that I wanted to get rid of that. So this ended up being what I tackled next. So also, if you need visuals to help you decide, there is a program called vertex42.com. They have a Excel worksheet you can download, and you can basically plug in all your numbers and add your amounts with their interest rates, and then you can prioritize it by either the debt snowball method or the debt avalanche, or you can create a custom priority list, and that will tell you how soon you can pay off your debt or which way is faster. And it's just a visual to help you decide whether you would want to do the debt snowball or the debt avalanche. So next, after you've created your plan of attack, for us in the beginning we went debt snowball, so we paid minimums on all of these, and then any extra income we had to put towards debt we immediately put towards our Credit One card. And so it would just go down the line of paying all minimums and then putting all your additional into your first priority debt. So the next key would to be consistent. So paying off debt is tiresome and it can be draining, but it is so worth it. So being consistent, sometimes you'll have moments where you want to throw in the towel, and that's why it's so important to know your why and get creative with how you're going to pay off this debt. So there are debt-free charts that you can color in if you love visuals, and so that way that can be a motivator. You can put all your data into Excel if you'd like to see it all mapped out like that, but find anything that can motivate you to help paying off debt. So I've also seen people who create little rings out of construction paper, and then they like tear it off every time that debt's paid or a certain amount is paid, and then like when there's no rings left, then that means they're debt free. So for me, I liked coloring in, let me show you. I have some of my planners here because I wanted to show you. This is the Asia Dang, excuse me, the Asia Dang drawing that she did. She did herself a financial roadmap, and so I've kind of done this every year. So this is back from 2020, and basically this was our monthly payments, and like every time we paid off $500, I would color in $500. And so at the end of 2020, we were able to pay off $15,177.92. So this was my motivator for me. I loved coloring these in when we were done, and that way it was just something visually I could see that told me keep going, let's color in another 500, let's color in another 500. And so this was my motivator, and I'll also show you some more later on. But now I just want to go ahead and mention some of the things we did to pay off that $68,000. And I may have mentioned this in my debt confession video a little bit, but I'll go ahead and mention it here again. So I didn't start tracking our debt until December of 2019, but I believe I started this journey before then because, excuse me, my throat is a little itchy. Because of June of 2019 is when I consolidated all my credit card debt, not all, most of my credit card debt into this SoFi loan. So this SoFi loan and this $6,000, well, this is another $1,000, so this was my credit card debt, and I wasn't able to move this extra $7,000 to SoFi. So, and this was probably actually more because I started in June and these are December numbers. So I maxed out whatever loan I could get from SoFi to get a lower interest rate and to consolidate it into one payment. So the first thing I did was consolidate my credit cards. The second thing I did was I consolidated all my student loans into one loan. I paid Mohella, but I did it through SoFi, so they may partner together. My interest rate was 6.224%. I did have student loans that had a lower interest rate than this, but I also had loans that had a higher interest rate than this. So my loans were between like 3 and probably 7 or 8%. But the key note was that it lowered my monthly payment to only $266, so that freed up more additional income I could put towards our debt-free journey. So I also did later down the line do a balance transfer of this Capital One card to this Chase card. So I did a 0 interest promotion if paid off within like 12 or 18 months. I don't remember how long it was. But I would not advise anyone to do this unless you are ready to commit to not using your credit cards anymore. I was fed up with owing money to credit cards, and so I put them away. I did not carry them around with me. I didn't take them out for any reason. We used our debit card for all of our purchases, and it's just so imperative that if you try to do a balance transfer, that you do not rack up your credit cards again. So after we did the balance transfer and the consolidation loans, we cut out all miscellaneous and unnecessary expenses, and that is very hard. And this is the part where you have to know your why, because there are so many times when you're going to want to spend money, and you just have to remember that your debt-free journey is more important to you. For us, we were invited to certain family events where we had to say no. If anything costs money, we had to say no. We didn't take vacations. We just wanted our main focus to be paying off debt. Now, for some people, their self-care may be important, and that's fine. Go ahead and put it in your budget, and then just pay off what you can with what's remaining. For us, it was Christmas. We have not put Christmas on credit cards since 2018. So we have created a sinking fund for Christmas every year so that we do have that money at December to spend. But it was in our budget, and we had money specifically allocated to go to Christmas, and then we had the remaining money to go towards debt. But it is so important to remember that your debt-free journey is just temporary. So you may say no today, but you will not always be saying no. One day when you are debt-free, you will be able to say yes to those events you want to go to, or you may say yes to getting your nails done. It's all about what your priorities are. So if self-care is important to you, then go ahead and put it in your budget. Just know that you may be sacrificing paying off your debt quicker instead of, you know, or you may be paying it longer instead of sooner. So the next tip would be to find extra money. So if you're able to have a side gig or a second job, go for it. It's only temporary. For us, when we first started this journey, our son was just born in 2019, so we didn't really want to work 2 jobs. However, we did save all our tax refunds. If I received any birthday money or Christmas money, I applied it to debt. You know, to me, they blessed me with money that I could apply to what was my #1 priority at that time. So we also had garage sales. We also sold things around the house. I love planners, but I was not using all of my planners, so I would sell any extra ones that I had. If you have any kind of children's toys or children's clothing that your children are no longer using, try to sell them. We tried all kinds of different ways to save money and find money that we could put towards our debt journey. So now that we went over those, I want to show you some more of my motivation to pay off our debt. So I have 2 Hobonichi cousins here. These used to be my planners for 2021 and 2022. And in the back of my planners, I would just track our debt payoff journey. So this is what I would come back to when I needed motivation. So here I have our starting debt at $68,000, and then I tracked our debt for 2020 and how we paid off $15,000 that year, which brought our debt down to $52,000. In 2021, we managed to pay off $20,000 worth of debt, and our balance was at $32,500. So I kept a log of what our ending balances were at the end of each month and recorded how much we were able to pay off that month. And I did the visual also. So I had a savings goal in 2021 to save $20,000. We were hoping to save for a house. It looks like I had $5,100 by January, but then I started using all our savings to pay off debt because my priority first was paying off debt. So we started 2021 with $52,000, and then we were able to pay off, looks like $20,400. I did not write it down on this paper, but we were able to pay $20,000 off in 2021. And then in 2022, I did the same thing. So having these trackers is what kept me motivated to pay off debt. So I didn't do a year-over-year comparison, but I did have Baylor. So like I assigned each debt its own space, and this was paying off Baylor. As for 2022, I did not track it as well as I did for 2021. But for 2023, we had that last $15,000 of student loans to pay off. And so this is my current planner. And this is my 2023 tracker. So I wanted to pay off the $15,000 by my birthday. And so we had $15,900 left. And so this is recording each month of just how we were able to, how much we were able to pay each month. And then This was $15,000 for Mohella. So this is an example of the debt-free charts. The website is called debtfreecharts.com, I believe. And she has a lot of free charts that you can just print out. And so I had printed it out. And this is just a recording of how much we paid every month. And I colored it in. So each spot was $150. And every time we paid off $150, I colored it in. And then that last $900 was for Best Buy. And so we paid that off pretty quickly, but this is another chart. And so I just colored it in after it was paid off. My husband had to have tires this year. So we took out it was like a, I don't know what it's called, like a easy loan, interest-free loan. And we just paid it off within 4 months. And then this is the Best Buy purchase now. So we purchased a laptop and a PlayStation 5 with interest free. And so I think we only have like $800 left for paying off that one. And then these were some savings goals, but obviously we have not saved yet, so. But these were just my motivators for me to continue paying off debt. And anytime I was feeling discouraged, I would just go back to this and be like, you only have $150 left. Or if you pay off another $150, you know, that'll be $500 you've paid off. So it was just a motivator for me. And I am a visual person, so being able to see this is what kept me going. So basically, when you find your why, just try to get creative in your debt-free journey. That's going to keep you motivated to keep paying off. And so next, I will try to insert a clip of my Excel sheet so you can see what we paid each month to pay off our debt-free journey, and how you can also do this electronically if you prefer digital. But that is basically it. So if I can do this, you can too. You just have to apply yourself and be determined to do it. So this is just a look at a visual that I used to keep track of our debt payoff. So right now this is a high level overview. This is our years 1 through 4, and you can see how much we paid off in each year. This graph is a little inaccurate because in year 4, 2023, we had that $15,000 paid off by July. So it was only 7 months of the year, whereas the rest of them were the full 12 months. So if you look at this next graph, it is a look at all of our loan lenders that we owed money to, and then it's just a visual of how long it took to pay off that debt. So, and then the next one is just our grand total of the $68,000 and the trajectory of it, the payoff journey. So just some visuals to keep you encouraged and motivated to continue paying off debt. So right now I have each year hidden, but if you take a look at 2020, you can see how much we were paying off each month. And so some months were higher than others, and then we had some really low months. Any of the high amounts, we probably applied some kind of savings to, like tax refunds, or 2020 we were getting stimulus checks during the pandemic. So, but you can see most of our journey was rather small. But you can see that by December of 2020, we had $52,000 left of debt. And so if you continue on to 2021, it continues our journey. And here is another high month which probably included some savings. April 2020, I probably received a bonus at work and applied that to debt. And then you can see it drifts off to much smaller amounts throughout the rest of 2021. And then looking at 2022, you can see I had SoFi paid off by March of 2021, and that freed up over about $700 worth of income we could apply now to other debts. So after that huge one was done, we started tackling all of the other debts. So our next tackle, I believe, was Baylor. We were ready to get that one over with too. And then you can see that we were probably paying minimum payments on my student loans the entire time until April of 2022, where it was our last remaining debt. And for a couple of months there, we had some low ones. And then we ended 2022 with $15,000 remaining. And if I open up 2023 here, you can see that we were getting more aggressive. I had a goal to have it paid off by my birthday, which is in July, and we were able to pay that off. This was pulling everything out of our savings that we had. At that time, we had job security. I was not worried about either of us losing our jobs, and so I knew that we could cash flow a small emergency if needed, but I did not foresee us having any major emergency. So I pulled everything out of our savings in July, and we were able to reach paying off the $68,000 by July of 2023. So thank you again for clicking on my video. I hope this helped you in some way and can help get you started on your debt-free journey. If you'd like to, leave me a comment if you have any questions, or if you want to tell me where you're at in your debt-free journey, please do. I would love to hear some of your stories. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time. Bye.